Welcome back to another tale of crime and grisly murder. Our condolences and prayers go out to the loved ones lost and those loved ones left behind. Not only innocent lives were lost, but also children's lives long before they started. Please take a moment and say a prayer to those involved. Warning, this video is not for the weak at heart. We advise viewer discretion. A new documentary exposes that despite Chris Watts' best efforts to elude the authorities, he was always able to give himself away. The 35-year-old psychopath suffocated his two daughters, Celeste, 3, and Bella, 4, in the back of his truck before claiming they had vanished. He had already killed his pregnant wife Shanann at home beforehand. This is the story of Chris Watts, truth and lies of a family disappearance, lies within truth. The cold-blooded murderer displayed no symptom of concern in the hours and days that followed the gruesome murder of the Watts family. Chris Watts, lacking empathy in a TV interview where he pleaded for their safe return and provided authorities with meaningless information and rambling comments. Detectives quickly realized that he was lying, and they were able to identify him as a triple murderer based on his body language and a few other small indications that only those specially trained would pick up. Chris Watts originally denied killing his family, but he then later admitted it. He then took police to the oil site, where he packed his girls' bodies into oil tanks and buried his wife, Shanann, and unborn son, who they had intended to name their newborn son, Nico, in a shallow grave. Capturing Chris Watts, a brand new documentary, takes viewers inside the case and focuses on his actions between the killings and his confession. Following the killings in August 2018, the program includes previously unseen police body cam and CCTV footage from neighbors' cameras. Hours after the murders, when Watts came home from work, he was met by police officers. According to body language expert Susan Constantine, the body cam footage shows him racing towards them with no stress, pain, or suffering on his face. Before opening the door to Nicole Atkinson, the friend who had reported Shanann first missing, and the police. Then once all inside, Watts walks away without seeming interested or worried, or without a care in the world. The Complete Idiot's Guide to Reading Body Language was written by Miss Constantine. She said, "It means that he is separating himself from what is being spoken at that time. He's wanting to deflect, so anytime he wants to walk away, he'll turn his back or he'll busy himself with the cell phone." The officers are then informed by Watts that his wife had been using a migraine medicine. Jarrett Ferrantino, a murder prosecutor, says in the documentary, "These are things that he just seems to be filling the air with some biographical information, but he's still not panicking or remorseful. His daughters are missing and Shanann is missing with their unborn son, and he's just providing some, in my opinion, useless information that goes nowhere." When questioned further by authorities, Chris Watts exhibits nervousness and restlessness and starts to pace back and forth with concern and anxiety. He also admits to having marital issues and that he and Shanann were about to break up. By not acting in any way consistent with that part of a concerned husband, Mr. Ferrantino claimed Watts put himself in suspicion. He continued, "Now you may have a motive, and that changes the focus again onto Chris Watts. When Watts killed his family, he was having an affair, deeply unhappy in his marriage, in serious financial difficulty, and opposed to having a third child. From the sound of it, a recipe for disaster." One of the biggest red flags appeared later when Watts and the police went to a neighbor's house, Nate Trinastic, to see surveillance footage. Shanann, who was 15 weeks pregnant, and their kids were not seen on the camera leaving the house. Instead, it revealed Watts pulling his truck into his garage at 5:15 a.m. in the morning, loading it up with some unknown items, and then leaving in a hurry. Watts looks away, starts pacing back and forth while keeping his hands on top of his head as the video is being played. He doesn't have the appearance of a worried father or husband. Ms. Constantine said, "He's afraid to look at it because of what it might reveal. So part of it is that deflection, right? So what I don't know, maybe I don't need to know." The following day, Chris Watts acted nervous and disheveled, gave an odd interview to a nearby TV station in which he begged for their safety and safe return while emotionless and displaying little to no concern. Ms. Constantine said, "He doesn't do that because he's not feeling anything. You have to understand that he is a sociopath, psychopath, narcissistic personality, so he doesn't feel emotion like other people, so he can't even fake it. It's so far from his own DNA, he can't even force it to happen." As we continue, the truth. Chris Watts was brought in for a lie detector test soon after, which he would fail since he was already the main suspect at that point. After the test, Watts admitted to killing Shanann in front of his father, Ronnie Watts, in an interview room, but he said that he had seen her smothering the kids. After his deception was exposed, Watts eventually confessed to murdering his family in order to avoid facing the death penalty. The coward, however, resisted giving a comprehensive account of what occurred and did not reveal more information about the events until after he had been given 5 life sentences in federal prison. prison with no ability to ever being released. Watts moved Shanann's body into the back of his truck and put the two girls in the back seat. The tragic part of these horrific murders is their daughter Bella witnessed her mother's murder happening with her own small eyes. He took a car to the oil site where he worked, wrapped his two kids in a blanket, and then dumped their bodies within oil tanks and placed his wife's body and unborn baby boy in a small grave with hopes they would never be found. In a jailhouse interview after being imprisoned, he admitted to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation that Shanann may have been praying when he strangled her in their bedroom. He claimed that while his girls waited in the truck, he drove her body to the construction site and buried it in a little grave. One of the daughters questioned him as he removed her body from the truck. "What are you doing to Mommy?" He said Bella saw him suffocate Celeste and yell, "Daddy, no!" just before she died. As part of a plea agreement to avoid the possibility of the death penalty, Watts admitted to murder and other counts and was sentenced to several life sentences in prison. Recently, a family friend said that Chris Watts was held in solitary confinement at a prison in Wisconsin and was only permitted to leave his cell for 1 hour each day to take a shower and exercise. Watts previously admitted to talking to family photos in his cell and reading aloud to his dead girls every night to Colorado authorities while imprisoned there. I cannot think of anything more tragic or self-serving than his behavior in prison. We do not condone any such crime and cannot fathom enough to understand the mindset of a killer that would allow a husband and father to make such a horrifying decision to end the lives of his beautiful wife and unborn son, and more the lives of two innocent children that may have bared witness to such a heinous act of violence. As this story comes to an end, we hope you were able to gain insight into a ruthless and heartless murderer who one day made a conscious decision to change the lives of many forever. Please click the like button and feel free to leave a comment on the video in hopes you realize life is short and to appreciate every opportunity you get. Hit the subscribe button down below to make sure you don't miss any upload. We look forward to your feedback in the comments section and in upcoming true crime videos.